everyone, welcome again to another crochet infusion. Thank you all so much for being here with me today. So today I'm going to be showing you all how to do the soap saver bag for your soap, and this is part of the Darling Spa gift set. By all means, you don't have to do the actual whole of the set if you didn't want to, but of course you can as well. So this is entirely your choice for this project. So for this particular project I'm using a cotton yarn, which is a weight of a 3 lightweight, and I'm going to be using a 4.5mm crochet hook. So depending on the soap that you're going to be using, and of course the yarn, is going to determine on what size hook you're going to use. It is entirely your preference, but just know that this stitch is worked in a multiples of 2. So when you do your chaining, you know that it's going to be a multiple of 2. You're going to need some scissors, you're going to need a tapestry needle, and you're also going to need maybe a stitch marker as well. So to begin with this, I'm going to be doing this with a chain, and I'm going to be measuring mine from the base of here, and then of course you can, if you wanted to measure yours from the side or the bottom, that again is entirely up to you, because as I said, it is a multiple of 2 for the actual stitch that I'm going to be doing today. So to begin, I'm going to start by doing a chain. So in case you've never done a chaining before, I'm just going to quickly show you how I do my chaining. So I just literally get my yarn and I just place that over my finger, just gently, and I just pull that off my finger, and I've got this loop going on, this ring here. I've got this bit of tail just here, and that's just going to fold behind the back of there, and I'm going to hold again from the bottom. I'm going to take my hook, I'm going to insert my hook and pick up this middle strand that's right here and just pull, and that's just going to secure onto my hook, and I'm going to pull this knot. This slip knot is just going to sit on my hook just like that. So now I'm going to do a chain of 8. So I'm going to pick up my yarn and I'm going to pull through the loop that's already on my hook. So just pull through the loop, so that's 1, and pick up again, just twist it and pull, 1, 2, and again 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and my last one for 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So once you're happy with your chain, you can just rest it against your soap. Like I'm just going to rest mine at the bottom here. Of course, if you're wanting yours to be longer and you want it this way, then you would measure from that side to that side. So now we're going to do a 1 single crochet in each chain across, and because the single crochet, we always skip 1 chain, we're going to be left with 7 single crochets, but don't worry about that because I'll show you how we get around that now. So all we're going to go is go into that next stitch. So we're not going to go into this first stitch, we're going to go in the next stitch from the hook, so second chain from the hook, and work a 1 single crochet. So insert your hook, 2 loops on the hook, pick up your yarn and pull through 2 loops. That's 1, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then of course your very last one for 7. So as I said before, I've got 7 single crochets because we skipped the first chain at the very bottom. So now what we need to do, we need to turn our work, because we are now going to be working back this way through the foundation chain that we just did. And of course with your tail, you can just rest that on the top and you can crochet that in if you wish. So here I'm actually going to do 1 more single crochet in that same chain space that we just did our last single crochet in. So we're going to go in again for another single crochet. So now we've got 8 single crochets going that way. So now I'm going to turn. I'm actually going to keep my yarn just resting over the top, and I'm going to go through only 1 of the chains of this foundation. So this might be a little tricky if you're new to crocheting. By all means you can just go straight through if you wish, but for me I'm just going to go through 1 chain like so, and making sure that tail is over my hook as well. So I'm going to crochet that in together. So that's 1, and I'm going to go into the next, and also here you can also put your stitch marker if you wanted to on the stitch before. So that's 1 into the next for 2, into the next for 3, 4, 5, make sure you do go into the right chain, not going into the same chain twice on accident. So that's 6, and here I've got 7, and once again we're going to do an increase, just so the same as we did on the first side. So we're going to go into that same stitch again for 1 more. So now you should have 16 stitches all the way around. It's a good idea to stop at this point and just count your stitches going all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and my last one is 16 right there. So this is going to give it like an oval shape. So it's working in the rounds, but we're working in the oval shape rather than a full circle round. So now what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to just do a chain 1 and 2, and I'm going to yarn over, and I'm actually going to start doing a half double crochet going into this next stitch right here, and work a half double crochet. And if you look closely, I've gone through both of those bars on that stitch. So I'm going to go into this next stitch. So that's 1, that's now 2, and I'm still going to work this tail in. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then that very last one for 16. So as you notice, yours will probably start curling in a little bit like mine is here. I'm just going to gently push this way, because that is going to be the inside now, and this is going to be my outer side. So we're going to be working on the outside as we're working up. So just make sure you, again, just rest that against your soap, just to make sure that it fits around the base okay, just like mine is here, just to show you how you're going to make this work. So now we're going to actually start on the initial stitch, and what we're going to do here, we're going to do a chain of 3. We're going to go into that same chain, and we're going to do a double crochet. So yarn over your hook, and we're going to go into that same chain for a double crochet. So yarn over your hook, insert your hook and pull through 2, and then pull through 2. So then we're going to skip the next stitch. So of course we did that chain just there. So actually I'm just going to, I'm not going to start there, so make sure you've got your chain 3, and we're actually going to do a slip stitch into that chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. Into that top of that chain 3 we're going to make a slip stitch. If I can get my hook in there, just to finish that round off entirely before we actually start the stitch. So we're just going to slip stitch into that top of that chain 3 before you do your chain 3. So now we're going to do a chain 3, and then we're going to go into that same stitch and make a double crochet. And all that's going to do is just going to stop having that huge gap where I had that chain 3. You could have carried on like that if you wanted to, but you would have left with a bit of a nasty gap, and you don't really want that. So now I'm going to yarn over again, and I'm going to skip the next stitch. So I'm going to skip this one here. I'm going to go into the next stitch and work 2 double crochets in that same stitch. So we skip 1 and work 2, and then we skip 1 and then we work 2 again, and then again we skip 1 and then we work another 2, and then once again we're going to skip this next one into the next stitch and work another 2 double crochets, skip, and then another 2. Keep working like this all the way around, skip, and then another 2 doubles, and then skip, work another 2 doubles. And you will notice now we are back at the beginning again, because there's our chain 3 and we've got one space left. We're just going to ignore that space right there, and we're going to just do a slip stitch, so 1, 2 and 3 on that top of that 3rd chain. Insert your hook, pull the yarn through and pull through again, and that's just going to join that round like so. So yours will be now looking something a little bit like this, and we're going to keep repeating this all the way around. So all I'm going to do here now, I'm going to do chain 3 again, yarn over into that same chain space and work another double crochet, and of course we're going to skip and we're going to work in between these V's here. So yarn over your hook, we skip, and we're going to work in the center of those 2 V's and work 2 double crochets into that center of that V, skip in between the V's, and this is called a V stitch, and it's a very nice stitch as you're working up. It's quite nice open stitch, which I think is perfect for this little project, for your soap saver bag. Skip again and do another 2 double crochets in the same stitch, and then again into the next. And we're just going to keep working like this, going all the way around, just continuing, making sure you do slip stitch in the top of that chain 3 when we come back round to that chain 3 again, which I'm back here again now. There's 1 stitch left, my chain 3 is just here, 1, 2 and 3. I'm going to work my slip stitch, insert my hook, pull through, and then I'm going to go again for the next round. So that's all I'm doing here. I'm just going to keep working like this all the way around. I'll meet you back and let you know how many rows I've actually done. This is my 2nd row, about to do my 3rd row. So if you just make sure that your soap actually fits in, and don't worry if it's a bit too tight on, because like I say, your soap does shrink, so I've done this so it fits nice and snug. So it's fairly tight, but it fits on there quite nicely. So I'm just going to keep working now till I get near the top, and I'll show you what we need to do after I've got near to the top. So just keep checking and measuring and making sure that it actually fits on your soap, and I'll be back and show you what you need to do next. Okay, so I'm just on my last row and I'm now on row 6, and this is how mine is now looking. I've just got one more double crochet to put in this last stitch here for the V. So just yarn around your hook and put your last, just finishing this round. So that's my last V just there, and then I've got my chain of 3 here again. So I'm going to go into that third chain again, so 1, 2 and 3, and just do a slip stitch. And now I'm just going to do a chain of 3. I'm just going to do 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way around. So just going into each stitch and just work a 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way around, including in between your V's. Just 1 double crochet in each stitch. I'm just getting near around to the opposite side now. And I've been checking that mine fits my soap throughout while I've been working the rounds up as well, which mine fits rather nicely. Okay, so just coming to my very last stitch right here, and then I'm going to go into this chain 3 right here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 and 3. I'm just going to join this round with a slip stitch. So insert my hook, pull the yarn through, and I'm actually going to do chain 1, and I'm actually going to cut this peach yarn. Don't need to cut too much of the yarn, just enough to give you a little bit of a sew in when you can weave the ends in at the end. That's probably far too long what I've cut here. And now I'm just going to pick up my green yarn. By all means you can use any yarn you like, and you want to cut your yarn quite long. I've got quite a long piece here, so what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to do a long chain. So I'm just going to make a slip knot, and I'm going to do a chain. And this is just going to weave in and out and around those double crochets, just so we can close the bag and open the bag. So we're making a drawstring for the top of the Soap Saver bag, and you just want to keep chaining until you feel you've got long enough chains. It doesn't really matter how long yours is, but it needs to be able to fit all the way around. So just keep chaining and keep measuring until you feel yours is long enough. So I'm just going to check that now, because I feel this is quite sufficient enough. So by the time that's weaved in and out, I would say that's probably quite a good length of what I've got here, which should fit around the bag. So I'm just going to do a couple more just to be on the safe side. Making sure I hold that chain well. And I'm going to leave mine at that. So I'm just going to cut tail, and I'm just going to pull that through and just pull that tight, so then that secures the chains. So now I'm just going to weave this around my top of the edging of where I've done those double crochets. So you can start wherever you want to start. So I'm probably, for me, I think I'm just going to start here at the side, and I'm going to work the other tail going around from this side. And all I'm going to do here, I'm just going to post it, weave it in and out of here. So just going through. Of course you can use your crochet hook if you wish, but for me I'm just going to use my hands and just weave it in and out. And I am going to have to cut this and weave this tail in because it's in my way. So just keep weaving this around. So once I've weaved this all the way around, I'll come back and show you what you need to do next. Okay, so I've just finished weaving mine around. Just make sure your tails are on the outside, and you can go all the way right into the top if you want, but I'm just going to leave mine just there. I'm just going to check my soap in my bag. Now of course if you want your top higher than that and you want yours to be, you know, a bit more of a top finish before you put your drawstring around, then you absolutely can do so. All you're going to do is just do another round, which actually I might actually do that before I say this is completed. So I'm just going to do one more round of a double crochet at the top here, and then I'm going to weave, I'm going to leave this green there where it is, and I'm just going to attach on my peach yarn and go back around for another round of double crochet. So this is optional, of course. This is if you just want yours a little bit higher. So I'm just going to insert my hook, attach on my peach, and I'm just going to make this a little bit higher. So I'm actually going to work from this way, from the outside, so then when I attach on my new yarn, the tail is going to be on the inside. So just chain 3, and I'm just going to work around doing double crochets in each stitch around, just for one more round. You don't have to do this, of course, it's just to give it a little bit more of a height for the top. So when we close it around, it just allows that little extra along the top. That's my tail end from earlier, which I still need to weave that in. So I'm actually doing 2 rounds of double crochet instead of 1. Or if you didn't want to do another round of double crochet, you could just move this chain down 1, and then that would give it a bit more gather at the top. But for me, I'm just going to do one more round of just double crochet. And then once again, just going to slip stitch in that 3rd chain, 1, 2 and 3. And just chain 1. And then I can cut, pull that through and just fasten that so it's nice and secure, and then I can weave those tail ends in. And we can just check this one more time just to check that I'm happy with it before I say this is done. So I'm just going to pop my soap into there. And I'm much happier with that gather that I've now got with this. So that's give it a nice better of a gathering at the top, which of course you don't have to. If you really wanted to, you could leave that off, and you know, it's entirely up to you. This is your project, but for me I'm going to leave it like that, and just tie a little bow at the top, and of course weave my tail ends in. You can have it as tight or as loose as you wish. So I'm going to make a nice little bow, however you want to do your bow. Then all I need to do now is just weave these tail ends in. So the way I'm going to do that, I'm just going to take my tapestry needle and I'm just going to secure it onto the inside. So just by, if you open that like so, I have got quite a length here. I'm going to go back through around that again, just so that knots that into place, and then just weave through the fibres. Let's go through one way and through the other way. And then I'm just going to finish this off just by going back through until you feel it's secure enough. And of course, don't be afraid to go through a bit further if you wanted to, just to make sure that that yarn isn't going to fall out anywhere. And then I'm just going to cut and then do the same again with my next tail end just here. And because this is on the top here, I just want to make sure that that is secured around the very top. So the way I'm going to do that, if you look the way your tail rests, whichever way, you don't want a big bulk. So I'm going to go actually in the inside through here. I don't want a big bulk. I'm going to go down again. I'm going to go through that loop. I'm actually going to go through this loop twice with my tapestry needle, and that's just going to secure that nicely into place. And then I'm just going to go through here just to make sure it's nice and secure. And I'm just going to cut this, and that is now done. I'm just going to cut some of the length on here, just so that they're more or less the same size, and I'm just going to make that bow a little bit bigger, just so that sits there quite nicely. So that is it for today's tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial with this little soap saver bag. I hope you found it very useful, and of course, like I say, you can do this for your darling spa, or you know, whichever. I might actually cut this chain a little bit shorter, but at the same time I quite like the length of those tails hanging down. It's actually quite cute. So like I said, I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. Of course you can do this with Darling Spa gift set, or of course you can just make this for, you know, for a project on its own. But either way, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. I'm also on Facebook at Crochet Infusion, and I love to see you all there. Please share your work, and I hope to see you all soon. Thank you all. Bye.